gentlemen, your wait is over.
And I woke up like this, proud to be a part of something outstanding. Them land grants from state to Claflin, educating blacks since 1896. I love my HBCU, Delaware State. I love my HBCU, Johnson C. I love my HBCU, SCSU, SCSU.
HBCU is a historically black college and university.
To me, it is an atmosphere that just sort of nourishes you.
It educates you from head to toe.
They want to cultivate you to become not only a great professional, but a better person.
When you go to an HBCU, there is a kinship, a camaraderie, and an innate support that is built in.
It's like black excellence.
Google HBCU graduates, whether they be athletes, doctors, lawyers, scientists.
We happen to have a long roster of folks who have gone through HBCUs and who have emerged as superstars and inspirations.
They have produced some of the greatest people that we've known on the planet.
Not just actors like Chadwick Boseman and Anthony Anderson and Taraji P. Henson. Not just, entertainers and CEOs like Diddy.
All I have to say, Kamala Harris.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Guys from Spike Lee to Kenya Barris, who are the top of their craft. I would like to believe in some way, in some part, that flame was ignited a little brighter within those hallowed halls.
The history of HBCUs and why they were founded was out of sheer necessity. It was illegal to educate Black people.
Because in their mind, we were inhuman. We were 3/5 of the human being.
Historical black colleges were founded because black people in America wanted higher education.
I know a lot of the historical black colleges actually were founded by the Methodist Church as a way to deal with how do we give blacks an opportunity to educate themselves.
What do you think we would have been if it had not been for these colleges and somewhere to send our children that could make a difference?
And our ancestors said, they understood that education would be one way for us to move forward.
To get up out my house, I had to leave, I'm gone.
The cultural experience you get from going to HBCU is just, it's like no other. Like from the dancing to the music to the food.
It is nothing like a homecoming experience at a black college or university.
HBC, I love my H from my B, my B and from my C, I love my HBCU. I do.
The Battle of the Bands, everyone should experience that.
And it's a vibe, it's a feeling. That energy is like no other.
It's an environment that is completely dedicated to empowering, to educating, to uplifting, to inspire.
You need to fellowship with those who are of your culture and who love you and are cheering for you.
You feel like you truly are a part of the fabric of that community, of the school.
Man, I found love down there, you know what I'm saying? I found like super solid relationships.
It is absolutely dedicated to your success.
They said I've had the time of my life at an HBCU.
My professors weren't babysitters. They weren't, hey, we're going to help you because you're black. No, they pushed me harder because we were black.
You're not just your social security number. They know you. They pull for you. They're there to support you and educate you.
Being at a historical black college is like fuel. It's fuel to reach your greatness.
And you get an amazing education at an HBCU, but it's also about learning who you are.
It taught me how to grind. It taught me a work ethic. It taught me that if you want something, you have to earn it.
Morehouse shaped and formed the man I am today.
I wouldn't be, Hebrew Brantley, the the painter, the storyteller, you know, without having had the experiences that I had attending Clark Atlanta University.
I was able to accept my own and be myself at FAMU. And it was a powerful thing. It's been one of the greatest factors in my life and me becoming and growing to be who I am, and as a person and as an artist.
It just really formulated the person that I would become, and it just made me Pam, and Pam from a historically Black college and university.
It's important that the Black youth of the day continue to attend HBCUs because it brings forth our culture. It keeps our history alive.
You know, it's a great rite of passage to sort of say that you came from these places.
That learning experience is very crucial to young African Americans. And, you know, we need to support that.
I would love for more and more people to experience that, these young people to open their hearts and minds to HBCUs.
It's also important for others like myself to put that as a banner, you know, across their chest and say, this is where, you know, I came up.
And now we lifting ours up, HBCUs, and it's influencing the world, and it's helping to improve the world and acknowledge what Black in America is.
The bottom line is this: if we don't support our HBCUs, they won't be here. And if they're not here, they're not going to continue to educate generations of our children.
I'm excited about the future. I'm excited about the products that come out of our historical Black colleges and universities. And all they need is our support, our love.
We gotta support what is ours because we're our best when we're together.
Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Good evening and welcome to Why I Love My HBCU Mid-Atlantic Edition, where we are featuring graduates from the schools in Maryland, DC, Delaware, and Pennsylvania. My name is Chrissy, a graduate of Morgan State University, and my co-host and producer for this evening is Gabrielle Wafer, a graduate of Howard University. For all of our high school students who are here today, pay attention so you can win a Chromebook at the end of the forum. I'm going to begin by introducing our panelists who have a lot of information to give you today. I will begin with Mrs. Juanetta Haney, who is a financial aid counselor at Morgan State University, who is here to give you some great tips about applying for financial aid. Next, I'm going to introduce Bowie State University, which is the first HBCU in the state of Maryland, whose football team went undefeated last season for their third CIAA football title. Notable alumni include Unique Jones, founder of Because of Them We Can, NFL player Douglas McNeil, and State Senator Gwendolyn Britt. I would like to introduce to you Brooke Archer. Next, we have Coppin State University, which began as a teacher's college and now boasts one of Maryland's premier nursing programs. With notable alumni such as singer Raheem Devon and Stephanie Reddy, the first female coach of a men's professional basketball team, I would like to introduce Ryan Mason. Our next panelist is a graduate of the only HBCU in Delaware, Delaware State University, which is one of 9 HBCUs that have an aviation program. And in 2021, Delaware State was the first HBCU to acquire another school with the purchase of Wesley College. I would like to introduce to you Marcus Lamar. Next, we have Howard University, which is one of 3 HBCUs to have a medical school, one of 6 with a law school, and one of 2 with a college of dentistry. Howard has many notable alumni, including our current Vice President, Kamala Harris. I would like to introduce Adria Peterkin. Next, we have Lincoln University, which boasts itself as the first degree-granting HBCU, graduating 20% of all African-American physicians and more than 10% of the African-American attorneys in the nation, with notable alumni such as Langston Hughes and Thurgood Marshall. I would like to introduce Roseanne Matthew. Next, we have the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, which is a doctoral university according to the Carnegie Classification of Institutions of Higher Education. UMES is the only university in Maryland to offer aviation science, with notable alumni such as NFL player Art Shell and David Banner. I would like to introduce Sean Williams. Next, we have Cheyney University, which is the first HBCU. Cheyney has an aquacultural research and education laboratory where they are doing research to alleviate hunger from the world. Their notable alumni include the late Ed Bradley, a correspondent on 60 Minutes, and Thaddeus Kirkland, state representative and mayor of Chester, Pennsylvania. I would like to introduce Taya Fuller. Next, we have the national treasure, Morgan State University, which is the only HBCU in Maryland that is not a part of the University of Maryland system, maintaining governance by their own board of regents. Morgan recently acquired their R2 research institution status. Morgan will be the only HBCU to offer Division I wrestling and recently partnered with the NFL to expand African Americans in the front office. Some notable alumni include Ed Gainey, the first Black mayor of Pittsburgh, Earl Graves, founder of Black Enterprise Magazine, reporter April Ryan, director David Talbert, and U.S. Representative and past NAACP President Kwasi Mfume. I would like to introduce Urena Violet. So let's jump right in with a general question, everyone, and you can take yourselves off mute. What do you think is a good course load for a freshman? So our freshmen that are coming in, some of high school students, what do you think is a good course load for them if they were going to major in a major similar to yours?
I could go. So I would say between like 12 and 13 credits, depending on because I know like there's some like extra like 1 credit courses that freshmen usually have to take. So I would say around like 4 or 5 classes.
Okay.
I think also starting with a lot of your bases that you kind of covered in high school. So like intro to English, like English 1, I think would be really good. Like maybe you can also start with a math class to carry on from what you've previously done in high school, especially if you're doing engineering. It's easier to start math as soon as possible, whether that's pre-calculus or jumping straight into calculus. And then maybe that and an additional class. I know a lot of HBCUs require an African-American studies class, so that would also be something to tackle on as well to kind of help you level out your schedule. And yeah, so maybe I would say about like 3 to 4 classes, but no more than that.
I noticed you said taking calculus, and I know you're going to talk about that a little bit later on, because I did not have to take calculus for my major, but for you, you probably did. So we look forward to hearing more about that a little later.
Okay.
My response is a bit different. I don't think it's necessarily the amount of courses you take your freshman year. I think it's how you set up your schedule. So for instance, the difference between college and high school is high school, your curriculum is set from about 8:30 in the morning to about 3 in the afternoon. You know you're going to go from class to class to class. What I discovered was as a freshman in college, I had a lot of downtime. And that's kind of what really trips a lot of incoming students up. It's like, whoa, what do I do with all this downtime where I might have a 2 or 3 hour break in between my next course So I think you just have to figure out, how do I make the best use of my time? So for instance, if you're taking 6 classes, which I think if you wanted to play it safe, that's standard or normal, it's not too much for you to handle. It's just about, how do you structure those 6 courses over the course of a 5-day a 5-day school schedule, for instance. So if you're thinking about taking more courses because you want to either graduate early, or you just feel like, hey, I can handle it, there's nothing wrong with that. You just got to make sure you're giving yourself time to study, and also have breaks for your mind as well.
Yeah, and keep in mind, a lot of the programs are at least 120 credits. So dividing that up between 4 years, you're kind of thinking at least 15 credits a semester if you're trying to get out the 4 years.
I was going to also suggest that you kind of work backwards. So the end goal, of course, is to graduate. I would obtain a course list of all the classes that you have to take within your major, and of course, what you need to graduate. Of course, if you are a science major, your courses are going to be weighed heavier. So you have those infamous 4-credit courses that's going to affect your GPA, and we'll probably talk about that later. But I definitely would recommend no more than 15 credits, however that pans out per semester, because you also have to remember you need a certain amount of credits per year to even qualify for financial aid. And I think Miss Juanetta is going to talk about that as well. That also trips some people up when they're obtaining financial aid. They'll say, oh, I only want to take 12 credits, and then they don't have enough credits to become a sophomore. So that's an issue as well.
How is this course load as an athlete?
Say it again, I'm sorry. You're a bit.
Oh, how is the course load as an athlete? I know Brooke was playing a sport while in school. How was that, Brooke, with your course load?
So just like Marcus said, I think it's all about finding balance and what you can handle. A lot of the times as athletes, in high school, we have that typical, class day, from 8 to 3:30 or 4 o'clock. And then we have, practices afterwards. So our day could literally go back to back to back to back to back from 8, very well to 8 o'clock at night, depending on your sport, depending on when you guys have study hall in your classes and things like that. So for me, I'm the type of person that always like to stay busy. So I did make, space available for like lunch and being able to, maybe have an hour break. But for me personally, I like to have things back to back to back. That way I stayed busy. I stayed out of trouble. I was doing exactly what I needed to do at that particular time.
And just to add on, I think it's important for you just to have partnerships and talk to some people who are in the major, some people who are in the registrar's office, just to get a full picture. So that way you can kind of balance that. If you're not a morning person, schedule your classes later in the afternoon. If you can get lost in them downtimes, definitely make sure that you crunch them together. But be strategic and also look for others who've been there to help you structure it. Don't just take random times and random classes. Make sure that your choices are purposeful in whichever way you need to get to your end goal.
Okay.
Yeah, I think all of this, everything being said is as pure and true as can be. Marcus says something that actually just triggered me really quick as to the time gap in college. Quick cheat code that I did, and for those listening, it could help, maybe it may not help you. During the breaks, so you had your 2-3 hour breaks, I would literally study whatever notes or the class that I just got out of, and also get ready for the class that I'm going to go into. So if you really look at it this way, I studied every day in between classes. So in the evening time when everybody wants to go play and have fun, I could actually also do the same thing, play and have fun. But when it came to finals or midterms or exams, when everybody's cramming and trying to study, I'm still having fun because I literally studied every day. So that was a cheat code that I learned about myself. To, like Brooke said, if I kept busy in between those classes, instead of me going back to my dorm and going to go play or go hang out with my friends, if I studied in between those times, I literally was studying every day, and I kept a set schedule every day, and I didn't have to cram at the end of the school year.
Well, Sean, I'm going to stay with you now. Can you introduce yourself? Tell us what you do now.
Yes. So I am. I'm an attorney in the state. I practice in Maryland and D.C. I do civil litigation. I would say predominantly civil litigation and some criminal defense. Yeah. So that's what I do now.
So for those who may want to aspire to become an attorney, is majoring in criminal justice mandatory? I mean, I know it's not, but is it more helpful?
No, absolutely not. You could literally major in basket weaving and still go to law school. It's not mandatory at all. Law school, I attended law school with English majors, people that did engineering majors, math majors. It was a gambit, theater majors. It was a gambit of individuals in law school. So no, it's not mandatory. Actually, I did not use anything that I learned in undergrad with my criminal justice major in law school at all.
And for those who may want to pursue a career in law, but not become a lawyer, what are some other career options, and what type of education should they pursue?
Sure. So actually, I originally went to law school. I mean, not law school. I originally went to undergrad to become an FBI agent. I studied criminal justice to become an FBI agent, but my path changed last minute. So you could do law enforcement. You could honestly get your undergraduate degree in criminal justice and get a master's or a PhD and actually become a teacher. So you could use your criminal justice degree. So for example, my younger brother received his criminal justice degree in Greensboro College, and now he owns his own business. Literally, he's doing nothing that deals with his criminal justice degree. It's a degree. I think he actually just got a degree just to pacify my parents, but that's neither here nor there.
And do you suggest a private practice or joining a practice?
So I think it's up to you. Everyone's path is different. I could speak as to my path. I went to law school because I wanted to become a state's attorney. So in the state of Maryland, they call it state's attorneys. In other states, they call them district attorneys. But I knew that's the reason why I went to law school, was to come back and be a state's attorney or assistant state's attorney in the county that I grew up in. So I knew I was going to go in the government route. But at some point, I hit the fork in the road, was either going to be a career prosecutor or go into private practice. And I wanted to go into private practice. The opportunity presented itself, and I did. So it's completely up to the individual. The way I look at it, there's nothing wrong with working for the government and being a career prosecutor. But if private practice was just calling my name, because if you're a career prosecutor, all you handle are criminal cases. The quote I always say is, do you want to be a great criminal attorney, or do you want to be a great lawyer? Because the law encompasses so much more than just criminal law. So it's up to the individual.
Okay. So a question for everyone. Internships while in college. I know they can help build your resume and give you experience in the field that you're interested in. Did anyone participate in any internships or practicum as part of their major or program? And did you seek that out independently, or was that a requirement of your program?
Yeah, I can speak to that. So I actually had an internship before I started doing what I'm doing, which right now I'm in sports media. I'm a sports writer and sports producer. I was a police officer in Washington, D.C. for 5 years and 8 months, approximately 6 to 8 months. Don't ask me how I know that. I was just going over the notes this morning. But one of the requirements was I had to do an internship pertaining to my field, which is criminal justice and sociology. So the police department or the public safety department on campus had a program called the cadet program. And the cadets were basically miniature versions of public safety. Now, to the kids, they were considered student snitches, but it was like a requirement for you in order to graduate. So I ended up doing that, and people made fun of me on campus and lightheartedly, like, oh, you're a snitch or whatever. And they've also made fun of our uniform. But looking back on it, that was valuable experience because I ultimately went on to become a police officer. So me learning the law or the scope of the law or how to write tickets or how to interview people was invaluable. What I will tell people or students going to college is, even if you go into college with one idea, which I wanted to be a police officer, I didn't need a criminal justice degree to be a police officer. I could have studied fashion. You just needed 60 credits. It could have been 60 credits in anything. But the point I'm trying to make is the value of having an internship relatively early into your college career, because you don't want to wait till you're a senior and you're scrambling because you need an internship to graduate. You want to try and set up yourself as best as possible so that when your senior year comes around, you don't have to worry about graduating and, hey, where am I going to work post-graduation? It's two scary thoughts, but you can alleviate that pressure if you take care of what you have to do the first 3 years to put yourself in the best position the fourth year.
I'm actually going to quickly piggyback on that, Marcus. I was actually also student security on UMES campus, so I feel your pain. It is what it is. But internships is invaluable. Honestly, the way I looked at it was, again, I wanted to be an FBI agent going into undergrad. And it wasn't until I interned at the state's attorney's office in Prince George's County that I realized my notion of what a lawyer is and was completely off. I thought it was just stuffy old white guys that didn't know how to have fun. But when I walked in that courthouse and I saw individuals that looked just like me, that were lawyers, that were judges, that literally was running the whole entire courthouse, I was taken back. So I would say it's invaluable. You have to do internships, even if it's something that you're interested in and you don't really necessarily know maybe this is for you. It's like practice. I know Allen Iverson frowned on practice, and I'm not going to. The kids might be too young to understand that reference, but it's really practice as to, is this something I would like to do? And if it's not something you like to do, you could cross it out and move on to the next thing. So each year, I actually strongly suggest each summer you should be interning. If it's somewhere that you like, then you stay with them, because in the hopes that when you graduate, you already have a job when you graduate. Or if it's a situation where, okay, I don't like doing this, then the next year, do something different. So 3 thumbs up for internships on my end.
I also want to add to that and say that I feel like they're so critical. Like every summer, do as many as you can, or even if you can do some throughout the school year, maybe. I think for STEM, finding labs to work in, you can kind of decide if you want to do research or not. If you don't want to do research, maybe there's some other like industry application that you can use it for your STEM degree for. And I feel like internships kind of give you the opportunity to explore different routes, what people use their degrees for, maybe something you thought you'd never be interested in. You get to explore that with an internship. And also the good thing about internships is that it shows experience. I think a lot of times people graduate and they have a hard time finding jobs and stuff because a lot of jobs are saying, well, you don't have any experience. You're like, well, I was a student. Well, internships also count as experience. And when you can say that, like, oh, I worked this summer for 3 months doing XYZ, whatever it is, building widgets, they can look back at that and say like, oh, wow, like you have experience. We can also call this reference to see what kind of work ethic you had, what type of work you did, how passionate were you, or what type of worker you are in that situation. I think that it really just provides value no matter what you want to do, whether you want to go to grad school, you want to work. It's super important. And I wish that more programs would emphasize how important internships are. And even if you want to like just work in your professor's lab, I would also recommend finding out what your professors are working on. Like a lot of professors do research and they have their own research labs. Find out what they're interested in, what they're working on, and maybe you can even assist in their labs and they'll pay you for it too. That's another way to get resources. And a lot of internships are paid in STEM. So that's also a way for you to make money over the summer and build your skill set.
In the education department, you definitely need that in classroom practicum experience. It's one thing to kind of get the theories and everything about how people learn and how to different tiers of education, but when you actually see it in practice is when it means something. And also those relationships, being able to be in a space with that experienced teacher, to just see how they handle the data along with the social emotional needs of students is invaluable. It's nothing that you can read. There's not a single class that I had that prepared me to be in some of those situations. It was definitely a lot of link backs where I could say, okay, here's something I learned from a class that could apply for this student or this group of students. But without that actual opportunity to be in the space, talk to students, really reflect on practice with those experienced teachers, that is that's not anything that I could have watched or just kind of heard about. It had to be experienced. So those experiences and those relationships, again, are invaluable.
Now we're talking about college here, but how do we pay for it? So, Mrs. Haney, please help us out with how do we pay for college? What is that typical financial aid process?
Okay. Good evening, everybody. So, how you pay for college? Your first step is always going to be your FAFSA. That's the free application for federal student aid. Again, I'm gonna emphasize the word free. The application itself is free. It doesn't, cost you anything to complete. What that does, that will then determine what type of federal funding you are eligible for. Now, what I will say, the common misconception is that not everybody qualifies for financial aid. Everybody does qualify. You may not qualify for the free money, but loans is considered financial aid. Grants and scholarships, all that is considered financial aid. Whatever money you receive that you're using towards your education is financial aid. So again, you're going to start with your FAFSA. Now, I will tell you that as an incoming freshman, the FAFSA will not cover your bill in its entirety. It will not. It will assist in covering your bill, but it will not cover it. So that means you're going to have to do the little extra legwork to make up the difference in what you need so that your bill is paid. It was mentioned earlier about the course load that incoming freshmen should take. Please take that into consideration when applying for financial aid. Most schools deem 12 or more credits as full-time status. There may be some grants or scholarships that require you to be enrolled as a full-time student in order for you to receive that specific grant or scholarship. So you definitely want to, whatever school you're planning on attend, you want to check to make sure what they consider full-time status. We get a lot of students who will enroll in 6 or 7 credits and they're not full-time and their aid gets adjusted because they're not at that full-time status. You also want to look into, again, those alternative options. You have things like the academic common market, which will allow students who are not residents of that state, if their state does not offer a major at any of the institutions, then you can possibly attend an out-of-state institution who does have that major at their state tuition price. So for example, I'll take Delaware because we get a lot of students from Delaware. Delaware is a small state. Some of their institutions may not have, let's just throw out their architecture as a major at their schools. So those students can apply at Morgan for the architecture program and possibly receive in-state tuition, even though they are a Delaware State resident. You also want to look in your state's higher education commission agencies. In the state of Maryland, you have the Maryland Higher Education Commission. This provides students state aid. So if every state has one, so you would look into seeing what you can receive from your state to attend a state university. So you want to keep all those type of things in mind. For those students who are DC, District of Columbia residents, you have what's called DC Tag and DC Cap. I will say that not all institutions consider DC residents a resident of whatever state school they're trying to attend. So at Morgan, for example, Morgan will not consider a DC resident a Maryland resident. You will still be charged as an out of state resident. However, with DC Tag and DC Cap, they provide or they may cover the difference of in state and out of state tuition for you to attend whatever state school that you are attending. So you have to look into those different options. Again, you have to do a little bit of you have to do the legwork in order to make sure that your bill is paid.
That was some good information because I didn't know that you could get in-state tuition if the major wasn't in your state.
Yeah.
So that was that. I did not know that at all. So this question is for everyone. Please tell me what your career is currently and your college major. What are some other careers that you could possibly do with that major? Because when we think of criminal justice, we think of a police officer, we think of a lawyer. But what else could you do with your current degree?
I'll go. So Chrissy, when you first spoke to me, you said, you found it kind of ironic that, I'm in sports media now, but I went to school for criminal justice. And a lot of times when I tell people what I'm doing, they're like, how did you go from being a police officer in the nation's capital to writing about sports? I don't know if anyone on the panel agrees with this, but I always feel like no matter what job you're at, whatever skills you learn are transferable to any other job in your life or just to life in general. So I don't care if you work at McDonald's, if you're a librarian. So for instance, a part of my job as a police officer was to interview people, was to interact with different people. A part of being a sports writer is I have to interview athletes. So even though it's not quite apples to apples, I'm still applying some of the same skills where I'm either trying to find a story or I'm trying to get to the bottom of a story or I'm investigating something. So what I learned studying criminal justice or, trying to get into the mind or psyche of how people think and operate, I directly transferred to what I'm doing now. And I ultimately feel like the experience that I had learning as a police officer, I always say it's the ultimate customer service job, prepared me for hey, when I reach out to an athlete, hey, do you mind if we talk to such and such about an incident he was involved in? Yeah, we're not really trying to talk to you about that. Okay, cool. So one taught me how to deal with rejection because you're going to hear a lot of no's in this industry. And then two, it just also taught me how to approach people differently, You have to cater your message to whatever audience you're talking to in a specific moment. So if you're studying something at a university or a college right now, and you go on to do something that's quote unquote totally unrelated to it, don't feel bad. Don't feel like you wasted time and don't feel like you wasted money. There's no such thing as wasted time or wasted money. Everything is ultimately leading you towards whatever purpose you have in this lifetime. And like I said, you can take and apply whatever you learn as long as you have the right mindset and apply it to what you plan on doing in the future.
I would say for my major, major was family consumer sciences. So it was it's a broad major. So people usually get into a lot of different things like teaching, like family finances, like financial advisors or like nutrition and dietitians and stuff like that. I would say I'm right now, I work for the Department of Social Services for the state of Maryland, but in like a family investment services. But I'm in like school now for like public health because our major was involved with strengthening the families, helping the communities, and like wellness, overall wellness. And I felt like that helped me branch off to what I'm doing now, which and stuff that I want to get into, which is public health and epidemiology and stuff like that. So I feel like my major, it was pretty broad.
I'll say for me, oh, somebody else need to go.
Go ahead.
I'll say for me, well, I attended Lincoln University. I was a bio major. My intention was to be a pediatrician. And of course, I changed my mind. And that's the one thing that you may or may not do. So I would not be disappointed in yourself or be too hard on yourself if you change your mind, because as you'll see as I continue to explain, your life experiences will shape and mold you into what you will eventually be. Um, of course, in my junior year, I hated my major. I wanted to party like everybody else, and I could not because I was always studying. I had 4 credit courses and organic chemistry and anatomy and physiology, and it was a lot. Um, so I just was like, you know what? I'm just going to do what I need to do to graduate and use this as a stepping stone, and I'll figure it out. So after I graduated, I decided I am going to get my master's in public health and find a school that I can major in public health. I actually wanted to be an epidemiologist, and I wanted to go to another HBCU, which was Morgan State University. Um, at the time, I was working in residence life, so I said, you know what? I'm never paying for another degree in my life, and I worked for residence life. And I was like, great, I got this wonderful, amazing job, and they're going to pay for me to go to school. So I finally told my supervisor, I'm ready to go to grad school now. When are y'all going to pay for my tuition? He said, well, here's the deal. If you go to school, you have to major in higher ed. Otherwise, we're not going to pay for it. I said, well, higher ed it is. So I have my master's in higher education administration, which is fine because at the end of the day, I used all of my degrees and transferable skills that I had to get to the point where I'm at now. I've worked in education. I'm still in education. I help with college admissions. Anybody that knows me, I pull aside anybody that looks like they're about to head into college. I start talking to them about college information. Like, what are you doing with your life? What, are you going to work? I just start asking them questions. It could be a random stranger. I just start asking them questions just to be helpful because I don't want them to go through what I went through. Um, and then like now, I work in human resources. I'm a senior compensation specialist for the school district of Philadelphia. But long story short, you never know where life will take you. So always be open-minded. If you're going to choose a major, do not let your parents pressure you into choosing a major. So I'm a first generation West Indian American college student. So if anybody has West Indian culture, you know you got to be a doctor, a lawyer, or a teacher. That's the only 3 choices you have. So my sister had to be a lawyer and I had to be a doctor, and neither of us are those. We both work in HR, ironically. But needless to say, you will be successful in whatever it is that you put your mind to it. Just choose wisely and listen to your instincts, and that's it.
Nice.
I'll chime in, Christy. Unlike my fellow brothers and sisters on the call, I didn't know what I wanted to do after college. All what I did know was that going to college was the only option that I had because my parents weren't gonna let me not go to college, right? But I wanted to make money, right, and possibly start my own business. So I went into communications initially. But I ended up switching my major to business. And like Irina said, that's a pretty broad, major. But with that, I'm actually in the real estate industry. Also an entrepreneur working to build my empire so I can absolutely walk away from my 9 to 5 because I've always known that, working a 9 to 5, wasn't the life for me. No shade to anybody that loves their 9 to 5, but that's just not for me. So business was my way to go. And I feel like, just like Marcus said, business major, the information that you're going to learn in your classes is easily transferable to any, career field that you want to go into.
Well, Brooke, now that you're here, let me stay with you because you took a non-traditional route. I want to say, I think it's a route that more of us should take to save money on financing school. You started at a community college first, and then you transferred to Bowie. So talk to me a little bit about how that went.
I did. So I had, my support system. My dad, honestly, was the one that pushed me to do that. At the time, my grandmother had passed away, so I had some inheritance money that I could have put towards college. My number one choice was Hampton University. So that inheritance money would not have even paid for one full year at Hampton. So I kind of had to go back to the drawing board on how I was going to complete school. So filled out, scholarship applications, was looking for any and everybody that was giving away free money. And the dominoes just started to align, honestly. So I was fortunate enough to be a recipient of a McDonald's scholarship that Russ Parr did back in, 2012. So I took that money, and that actually paid for my first 3 semesters at Prince George's Community College. So super grateful for that opportunity. But I knew that, my time was coming up on that 2-year mark where it was time to transition to a 4-year university. So I started vetting out colleges that, would have the scholarship opportunities, whether that be on the academic side or the athletic side, because I did play sports all throughout middle school, high school. I played everything from basketball, softball, soccer, volleyball. And volleyball was actually what paid the bill for me personally. So I actually transferred to Bowie State University on half academic, half athletic scholarship. And I just think it's very important to stay aware, to stay close to people that your parents, may be connected to, that have connections with people at universities, or even have connections, at different organizations that you can kind of tap into to see if there are scholarship opportunities at different organizations. So I was completely relentless with filling out scholarship applications. And I had to go to 13th grade, as some people would say in Maryland, but I'm blessed to say that I went to community college, that was paid for, went to Bowie State, that was paid for, turned around, got my master's degree in public administration, and that was also paid for. So I have a very unique story of being able to have these 2 different degrees completely debt-free, no student loans.
Let's move on. I'm going to move on to Adria because she has a unique story too. And Adria, when we're talking about getting more women into STEM right now. So tell me a little bit about what you do. And I don't want to tell everybody what you do, but how did you get into nuclear engineering?
Hi. So I did undergrad at Howard, and I did chemical engineering, and I really enjoyed chemical engineering, but I had a physics professor who was really big on astronomy, and I had a close friend that was big on astronomy, and I started attending the astronomy meetings in the physics department, and he kept trying to convince me to transfer to the physics department. And I was like, oh, I'm not doing that because that sounds horrible. So I'm probably not going to do that. But I actually really liked it, low key. And also the reason why I didn't transfer is because I was too late in the process. It would have set me back like a year or 2, and I didn't want to do that. And so, but he did research in nuclear physics. And so I wanted to do something. I didn't want to do nuclear physics because I felt like I wanted something that I can kind of directly relate to chemical engineering. And so I decided that I would try nuclear engineering and see how I liked it. And so I decided to go get my master's. So I went to UC Berkeley and got my master's in nuclear engineering. And then I entered the workforce, and I really liked it. I did a little bit of government work, and then worked for industry, worked for GE. And I really liked kind of just like the process of it, thinking about it. And I just enjoy STEM in general. And then I recently decided that I really like this, but I think I want to do more. I think maybe I want to do something along the lines of like teaching. I also feel like there are not enough women or people of color, Black people in general, in STEM and engineering, and definitely not in nuclear engineering. And so I would love for us to be able to bring more into this field. And so I'm thinking, I don't know what I'll do next, but I'm thinking about maybe being a professor. And so now I'm doing my PhD at MIT in nuclear engineering. And yeah, I really like it so far. And I just think that we need more people, more of us in this area. We need to see the representation, and that we need to feel comfortable in these spaces and knowing that we can do this and that we are smart enough to apply our brains to doing science and developing the world around us. Because yeah.
Chrissy, can I do a follow up question because I'm intrigued. I mean, I actually have questions. What does the life of a nuclear what's your day like? What does it look like? Because I don't even know. Pardon my ignorance, but I really don't know.
No, that's fine. So, as a student or like when I was working, because
both.
Okay. For example, I worked at General Electric, Hitachi Nuclear Energy. A lot of people know GE, but they don't know that it also has a like whole power division, and their power division has a nuclear energy division. And basically, what they do is they work on the nuclear power plants around the U.S. And so when there's a certain type of reactor called a boiling water reactor, which is a type of nuclear reactor. And so when I worked at GE, I kind of helped basically operate their nuclear reactor in a way by making sure that it was up to date with their operating conditions, a lot of computational work, and a lot of kind of just ensuring plant safety and kind of like calculating divisions and stuff for the operators to have parameters to work within. So a lot of that was my day-to-day for GE. Here, my day-to-day is I do a lot of research. And so my research right now is on nuclear materials. And so I spend a good amount of time in the lab doing research, and I'm currently taking classes as well. So yeah, that's the day-to-day. But it really is whatever you make it. People do different things. Like some people want to work for government. You can work for do issues around nonproliferation, nuclear security issues. You can design advanced nuclear reactors. You can do nuclear materials, which is a lot more like lab-based. You can do computational work, which is a lot of computing. If you like computer science and you want to be able to apply that to a real system, then I mean, this is also a great field to do that too. So it's just up to you what you're interested in.
I'm going to bring in Ryan and Taya now so we can kind of talk about education. Both of you are teachers, and both of you teach similar age levels, 4th and 5th grade, correct? How did you decide to choose that age level, that pre-tween kind of age level?
You want to go? Go ahead. All right, I'll go. Is she talking? I can't hear.
No,
you are. All right. Yeah. So I started actually in a untraditional route as well. I went to Baltimore City Community College for early childhood education. Got my 90 hours and did all of those things like for the infants and toddlers. And I realized that was the level of my kids. And I didn't want to white boogies for a living. But I was also doing a lot of tutoring. I was working in the schools. So I got a chance to see both sides of it. So after I got my degree in early childhood education, I went to Coppin for elementary ed. And that's where I did I was still working in the school as a teaching fellow. So those internships and things of that nature kept me able to be close to the students while also studying in the classroom. And leaving, so upon leaving Coppin, I started with Baltimore City Public Schools, and I just recently got my master's in education with a but with a focus on instructional technology. So we were in the pandemic, and I was thinking, how can I further my education while also preparing me to be an educator for these new times? So that degree kind of helped me put some things into perspective. But yeah, that's it was me following my daughters really is what got me into the classroom. I didn't see any black men when I was taking them to like Head Start and daycare, and education was a minor when I first went to as you said earlier, the 13th grade, and I ended up not making it out of the 13th grade because I was a computer science and art major with a minor in education. I still wanted to do something with students. I didn't know what that was. So I didn't make it out of the 13th grade. And years later, I went back and finished that degree in just the early childhood. So being able to follow my daughters was really a motivation. And then as I spent more time in their classrooms and saw the impact of just students being able to see a black man in that position, not just as a disciplinarian, but actually about the work and helping them to learn how to read and do math. It inspired me to continue on because I hated school. And just being able to say that as an educator, and I might have some students on here too, who will ask about that later, but I didn't like it, and I had to figure out ways to make it more fun and make it more authentic to me and an authentic experience for people who shared similar experiences with education. So.
Taya? I think she may be present. Okay. Let's talk about the highlight of college. Let's get some fun stuff. What was the highlight of your undergraduate experience? I know some schools have particular things that make their school like that particular time period the most fun. What was the highlight of your school?
Well, for me, coming from a small HBCU, Delaware State, when I went there, I want to say probably had just a little under 4,000 students. You know, we weren't as big as Howard University and stuff like that. But in terms of population, that is. But so when I first went to school, we had what was called Welcome Week, where all of the freshmen would come with their families and parents for a week. And it was like an orientation, a welcome to the university. And I remember speaking, well, the SGA president and vice president at the time were a part of a fraternity and sorority. And I'm fresh. I had no idea what fraternities and sororities were other than what I had heard, before I got to school. But they were the SGA president and vice president. I'm like, wow, that seems really important. What is the Student Government Association thing like I keep hearing about? And I told my mom when I left the ceremony, I said, Mom, I want to be SGA president. That's my goal. She said, what's that? I said, I don't know what they do, but they look really important. It sounds fun. And I was told that they got their senior year paid for. Like it was free tuition for their senior year. I said, that's what I want to do. Not just because of the free tuition, but it looks fun. So she said, all right, go for it. So the highlight for me would be winning SGA president. I ran as a sophomore, which typically is frowned upon because you're considered too young. I ended up losing. I lost by like 600 votes. I ran the second time with my frat brother. And it's crazy because we had literally just been initiated into Alpha Alpha fraternity 2 weeks before it was election day. So that 2-week stretch where I joined Alpha Alpha fraternity and became SJ president with my line brother, aka my frat brother, was by far the best experience of my college life, like hands down. And ultimately, it's really ironic how what you do in college will really shape and mold you into what you're going to do, like moving forward. So when I was going through things like, debate night or speech night, those moments gave me the confidence to hop on a panel with people that I've never met, like you all, and basically be able to talk and share stories about, my college experience. A lot of times, I don't know if it's still true, but at one point they said the number one fear of people was public speaking, like in any capacity, whether it's in front of a large crowd, hopping on a panel. People are shy because you don't want to mess up. You don't know if you're saying the right thing or wrong thing. But being put in the fire, because there's no greater fire than having a debate night in the HBCU. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever been a part of it, but kids at that time, they go there and they want to hit you with hardest questions. Who's coming to homecoming? Can you get free tuition? Why doesn't the cafeteria stay open later? So those were really good moments, and it's ones that I'll always hold dear to me, to include this Letterman that I'm wearing that says SGA Prez on it.
I didn't know you could get free tuition. Maybe I should have done that myself.
Right? I also just want to add homecoming. Don't let anyone tell you differently. Howard homecoming is the best homecoming, just saying. Howard homecoming is amazing, and homecoming season is a whole vibe at Howard. It's amazing. Obviously, like other HBCU homecomings are amazing too. I'm just, I'm being biased, but no, homecoming time is amazing, and I think that that's always something to look forward to. And honestly, we also had Spring Fest too, so it was like a mini, I guess, homecoming in the springtime as well, where they did like fashion shows and step shows and stroll competitions and stuff like that. And it's just, it feels really good to just be a part of, even going to the games, watching people play, and watching, I guess, dancers or whoever is out there. And it's a good time to just kind of get involved in the community of your university as well. Like, of course, school is important, but also get out and meet people and like hang out, join a team, have some fun, like develop like some character in itself, in a sense of who you are throughout this period too, by like exploring and just having a good time too, because that's also what college is about too. It's definitely about like using your work to like get to the next step in life, because you want to make sure you're good, but also it's about developing that sense of self, and HBCUs is one of the best place to be able to do that, and getting involved and meeting people and networking, like that's how you do that. And so yeah.
I would say it's finals is not really like one of the most favorable times. However, it definitely brought about some very strong bonds with people who were in my major. We were in classes together, and it brought a sense of camaraderie like nothing else. These are people who I did not know, and for this 6 to 8 week course, we got to know each other. And then when it came down to midterms and finals, we really got to know each other, because sometimes that was the make or break for a lot of people. And it's nothing like that type of motivation, to really push you over that edge. I attribute a lot of my success just to those phone calls, text messages from people I still try to keep in contact with now. But for that moment, we were, back and forth, keeping each other accountable. So those accountability partners, it makes me cringe to say that's my favorite, but a good time from school. But it definitely brought about a lot of good laughs, because we were all feeling that same type of stress, and that pressure definitely brought out some things in us, for us to be able to move forward with it.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I don't want to cut anyone off, please.
I would say for me, it would definitely be becoming a member of Swing by Swing Social Fellowship Incorporated. I was a very shy person. I was thrust into the spotlight, stepping and so forth. And it just definitely has helped me, even professionally, being able to speak publicly. Definitely homecoming. It's like a mini reunion, always and forever. I don't think I've ever missed a homecoming. Um, just definitely living within the residence halls, or people say dorm life. I have to say residence halls because I was a resident director before. So dorm life, you meet some lifelong friends while living in the residence halls. I think some of us still have those friends till this day. And just truly attending a HBCU, that is your first. And if you didn't go to grad school at HBCU, while in undergrad, those are the only 4 years that you can be your true, authentic self. You don't have to put up a wall. You can be 100% Black, and that's it. There's no fake, no front. You can be as creative as you like and just be you. And there's so many other like-minded people who are willing to be and go through the same experience as you.
I don't really necessarily have a moment. I think everyone has pretty much summed it up. It's the people. I have more of a story to tell as to one of my why the people like just interacting with different people. So going into undergrad, I'm from Prince George's County, and still till this day, Prince George's County and Baltimore, there was some kind of friction. Folks from Prince George's County really didn't know Baltimore, and folks from Baltimore really didn't know Prince George's County. So I go into my freshman dorm, and lo and behold, my roommate, I see his fitted all the way low. He has a black t-shirt all the way down past his knees, and he has fronts in his mouth. I'm saying this guy's from Baltimore City. I already know. I could just already tell. And again, growing up in Prince George's County, you're taught, hey, you got to be mindful of people from Baltimore City, this, that, and the other. But till this day, that was August of, and I'm dating myself here, August of 2003. Till this day, that's my best friend. He's actually the godfather of my son till this day. So it's just what I will say about fun times. It's the people. You can't. I don't care. I've traveled the world, genuinely traveled the world, and the people you meet at HBCU, you can't beat it. You genuinely can't beat it.
What are some of those things that freshmen forget to bring? I mean, everybody, we talk about we got to get a mini fridge for the room. You have to, well, now they have flat screen TVs they're bringing in the rooms and things like that. What are some of those things that are essential that will help parents? Did anybody get care packages from their parents? I wish I did. What are some things that you need that a lot of people forget to pack or forget to bring?
I could tell you because they would ask me as soon as they arrive. Toothbrushes, toothpaste, soap, lotion, a comforter set, a pillow, socks. Just random things that they would just not think about. They would forget. A fan, some water, just random things. I think the best thing to do is to make a list now of things that you would possibly need for college. And that will be helpful.
I would say like I remember to bring like shower shoes, like flip flops, but I forgot to bring like slippers. So in like the fourth, it gets cold for me. So I forgot slippers. So you want to remember to bring stuff like that. I forgot like tape to put stuff on the wall. Like, you know how you put your posters or like, I don't know, they probably use command strips now, but like command strips to like hang up stuff or whatever. But I forgot that type of stuff. Calendar and an organizer. So I need to like, for myself, always being with like all the different classes, I needed to write stuff out. And I didn't have anything really. So I had to go out and buy like organizer or like a big calendar you can hang up on your wall or something. So that it just reminds you of stuff.
Just thinking about how wild the weather has been. Just making sure you got a nice mix of clothes. You don't want to pack all your warm clothes, and next thing you got a cold day. So just make sure you have something as a backup. Be prepared for the weather changing for wherever you end up at, because it was winter yesterday.
Well, while we're talking about what freshmen are forgetting to bring, where should you live on campus for your particular school? Everybody always had like the worst dorm and then the best dorm. Either it's because of location or it was newly built. Where should they be trying to request to live on your campus?
Morgan, so I stayed at Blount, which I didn't mind. That's not like people's favorite. I didn't mind it, but I really wanted to be in Harper, and I think you can only get there your sophomore year. I'm not sure. I don't know if things changed, but I know they were like a fan favorite because you shared a room you only shared a room with one other person, and you guys had your bathroom, like your own little bathroom instead of sharing it with like 5 other people or something. So just to have like that little bit of privacy would actually be nice. But yeah, people usually like to stay out like Harper.
I think Harper Tubman was famous too because it was right there where all your classes were. You didn't have to walk all the way across campus.
Yeah, it is. It's right there.
It was
except
a lot.
for if you want to eat, and then you have to walk a little bit. But yeah.
My advice to anybody is so when I was a freshman, I stayed in Conwell Hall, which was considered the hottest dorm on campus. And at the time we moved in, obviously it was August. And there were a lot of days where I would sweat a lot. And it built character. It really, really, really did. But in order to appreciate the better dormitory living, or like the University Village, which is for upperclassmen, or the courtyards, which is off campus, you got to go through those struggles. And then I also challenge people, thinking about going to college. If you get a chance to get free housing somewhere that's quote unquote less desirable to live, or you could pay for somewhere that's more desirable, what would you do? I would caution you to think with your pockets instead of your feelings of, hey, I want to, live with the upperclassmen, or I want to live with where it's considered finer. So just think about that.
So Marcus, are you saying that your dorm didn't have air conditioning?
Central air was not a thing there. Yes. So that's why it's really important. And honestly, just go to Walmart with your parents, and it will help to have a list, but you might even need 2 fans, to keep the room circulating. But ultimately, like I said, you'll look back on those moments and you'll really appreciate them as you ascend to better quality living throughout your college career.
I will also say, this is also to the other question, don't forget your fans, because I stayed in the quad and we did not have air conditioning at Howard either. And we stayed in a little cubby hole that was like 3 people in this room. It was a little rough. But I will say though, that like it was 2 bathrooms for the whole floor. So that was a little rough, but I feel like these ladies are ladies that I still talk to this day, like some of my closest friends. And so it really does build a sense of community, kind of like going through some of these struggles, not saying that you have to if you really don't want to, but it really did kind of help me build that sense of community and like belonging at the university. There are other dorms, like I know Howard, everybody knows Howard's been going through a little issues with their housing, but they have new dorms that are built that are much like newer and nicer. I think College Falls South, that's a freshman dorm, and also the Annex, which I think it's still freshman. So they have other dorms that you can get into that, like, if you don't want to share a room or a bathroom with the whole hall, then you can like get one that you just share with one other person, and it's probably more space for you and things like that. So I think that you can kind of just talk the residence life, but also like see what you can afford to, because it depends on pricing. Pricing changes, and also like getting in priority to some of these places is a big thing as well. So kind of just look to see what your college offers, when the application is, can you view them? Because sometimes you also might just want to see them first. So yeah.
One other thing that I forgot. So like people use like noodles in the microwave and stuff like that, and I always forgot plastic, like forks, spoons, plates, stuff like that. So just to remember that, and like air fresheners, and what was that? Oh, detergent, like to wash your clothes and stuff. That's like easily forgot.
Well, now that you're talking about food, how is it with meal plans? You have the 10 a week, the 21 a week. Which meal plan do you think is best for a freshman? Did you use it as often as you thought you would?
Yeah, I would quickly jump on as to that. I would say definitely get the meal plan. Well, I'm a fat person on the inside, so I can't, I'm speaking to all my fat people on the inside. Get the meal plan. Actually, I enjoyed the meal plan because we called it a caf. Going to the cafeteria was a social event as well, because you're there with all your friends, music. Sometimes they have a DJ in there. So it's it's an experience. You never want to miss out on what happened in the caf. Usually dinner time. Some people do breakfast and dinner. I did breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Another thing that I would say is I worked my freshman year. I actually worked for it was like a hotel service. They did school events, so they catered. It was a catering service. I would strongly suggest if you could do school and work for a catering service, because on the weekends the food is trash. I love my HBCU, but you're not gonna get quality food on the weekends. So if you're working for the catering service, you're catering for like the alumni or the school president or whatever it may be. So you could take home lunch boxes of steak, seafood, whatever it may be. So I used to do a side hustle as well. I used to sell food when I got back to the dorm, quick money as well. So it's getting where you fit in. But meal plan. If you're a fat person on the inside like me, go for the full one. Splurge.
So I'm gonna answer the last question first. Don't forget your Tupperware, okay? You want to put Tupperware on your list because for me, I got the meal plan that my financial aid could afford me, which was 2 meals per day, Monday through Friday, right? So I took my Tupperware to the caf, you know what I'm saying? After I finished my meal for that particular time, pack me a Tupperware, for my next meal or two, and put it in the fridge in my room. So don't forget your Tupperware. And for me, I'm gonna say, get what your money can afford.
At Cotman, it's the campus itself isn't crazy huge. So Wing Wednesday, you definitely want to be there for that. But outside of that, Mondawmin right up the block, it's probably like equivalent to with some other campuses, like just going across campus. So Mondawmin Mall is there, so you got a wide array of foods and things. Then you got Fridays, and then it's a market over there too. So and it's right there. It's central. It's a sub shop like in every direction. So you can definitely get some what you want to eat in any direction around it. It's also some things on campus. But you just don't want to miss them wings. That's really where it's at. And around like midterms and finals, they do like special like midnight breakfasts and stuff like that. But those the clutch times are when you want to make sure you in that calf. Like you said, those experiences also.
I will also say that in addition to your meal plans, most schools have something called Flex Dollars, where you can buy food from a restaurant. So Lincoln University has a KFC. Some universities call it like a grill. You can buy sandwiches or chicken or juices. So sometimes you'll have like $250 per semester based on your meal plan. And you can just purchase food. So that's also helpful throughout the semester. Be mindful on what you're spending.
While we're on the topic of food, because everyone made some really, really, really good points. For those of you listening, I don't know if you've heard of Freshman 15, but I'll explain it to you. Freshman 15 is the belief that when you go into college, if you eat poorly, which most of us do, because like Sean said, on the weekends, the cafeteria is trash. It is what it is, which means you're going to be ordering out a lot. Freshman 15 means basically by the time your freshman year is over, you would have accumulated 15 pounds. If you think that's bad, alumni 30 is even worse. So when you graduate college, that number doubles because you're less active. But this doesn't have to be your reality if you utilize, because you will be paying a wellness and recreation center fee. The recreation part is important, which is a fancy name for fun, but the wellness center portion is even more important. It's all about balance. I'm not telling you not to eat good. I'm just saying you got to work out. You don't have to run a triathlon or be a world-class athlete, but working out will improve your performance in the classroom. It will improve your overall mood. It'll help you balance stress, and it'll prevent you from looking back on your freshman year and saying, damn, what the hell happened to me? You're only 18 years old. And that's just the reality.
So I would also just say, like, don't forget your sauce. All of these other things. You're talking about the trash on the weekends. hot sauce and some ketchup will get you, that'll get you far, based on, what your budget is. If you can't order out and you got to get through one of these struggle meals, keep your hot sauce on deck. You don't want, and you can get a wide variety of them. You can go to Walmart and get the Chick-fil-A sauce bottle. You can mix it up and sauce it up. So don't forget to stay saucy.
What exactly is a struggle meal?
Noodles.
Yeah, noodles. I mean, if you want to get
Some
fancy, you
thrown
might put
together
something in
stuff.
there. You might have some hot dogs and some noodles, and yeah, it all depends on what your palate is. But you got to get creative. It's one all we hearing is how closely knit these HBCUs have brought people, and some of the most struggle meals I've heard of have come from those those moments where it's like, who bought the snacks, and we struggling trying to figure out how we going to eat, stay awake, and get this information. So the struggle is all and it adds to the essence of the food. It's a different flavor.
It's so true, especially when all you have is like hot dogs. You got to cut that up in some rice. Yo, throw some hot sauce on it. You can make it work. Yeah, it's real.
Roseanne, I'm going to bring you up now and ask you a little about your human resources field, in a sense, because when we think of human resources, we think of it as more of just hiring and firing people, but that's not all human resources is. Can you explain that field and somebody who would be interested in majoring in human resources?
Sure. I mean, as a freshman in college, I would have never thought I would have ended up in this field. So again, it's kind of weird how life takes you down the path, but I truly do enjoy it because no day is the same. But within HR, a lot of people kind of focus on the hiring and firing because that's the first thing and the last thing that you would experience. But you'll be surprised at what many of us that are working or ever had a job, you will experience, or the laws that are set into place, like the Family Medical Leave Act, which is FMLA. Some of us may know that, where you might have to take a break from work because of an issue that you may be having in your family. It may be due to a death in the family, or maybe something medically you need to take leave from your job. The age discrimination laws with employment, so we can't discriminate against you because you may appear to be or look older than 65. We can't just like not hire you because of that. The occupational safety laws or acts. So we have to make sure that you are safe in a safe environment wherever it is that you're working. You can't have like leaky roofs and just chemicals everywhere. Our nuclear engineer person, I'm pretty sure knows about that. And health coverage. Everybody has to have health coverage when they're working, especially if you're a full-time employee. You need health coverage. And of course, for all minorities, the equal employment opportunity laws, which came into play so that all minorities have the opportunities to work in a professional atmosphere despite their race, creed, or color.
Okay. So that now, do they have undergraduate programs for human resources? I know about master's programs.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you can major just about anything to enter into HR, human resources. Some people start off in business administration. Some people actually major in human resources. It varies. But if you want to go higher in HR, the certifications, like for SHRM, is where you will get into making more money if you're certified. And SHRM is just an HR national society where you become certified and very knowledgeable in all of the various areas in HR. So it encompasses like benefits, retirement, what else? Health services, classification compensation is in the office that I'm in, staffing, recruitment. It's a lot of variables within HR. But again, people only focus on the beginning and the end which is the staffing portion and the retirement portion, because that's only two things that they kind of experience or remember. But you need your benefits, so that is a part of HR as well.
Okay. Now, let's talk about working while in college a little bit. Did anyone have a job, a work study job? Is there a particular place that you would suggest on campus to do work study? And are any of those jobs beneficial to help with paying for college? Like, I know you could work in residence life and that can help pay for your board. Are there any other jobs that you could get on campus?
I would say I worked on campus my senior year. So I would, if you can, put off working until like the summertime, or I waited to start working in my senior year of college, like right before I graduated, so I can like earn some money for school and then help save up for like other responsibilities that I'm gonna have after school. Um, and I was working on campus at like the food. We had like a pretzel place, so I was working there my senior year, and that helped. Yeah, it was just convenient for me at that time. And then it provided, and they were like super flexible with like my school schedule. They paid for my like a meal a day. So I had the 2 meal a day like food service thing. So for or meal plan, but then I had like 3 for just working with on campus in the pretzel Auntie Anne's area. So
yeah, working in college is so crucial. If you didn't do summer youth employment growing up, when you graduate, your resume is going to be blank unless you worked in college. So I was entertaining being an RA my second semester of my freshman year, which is unprecedented. They don't really do that because it's like you're still a freshman, you policing quote unquote other students and you're the same age as them could present challenges, but they entertained hiring me. I didn't ultimately get it. I became a resident assistant my sophomore year, but my mom told me, she said, look, you can go to Dell State for 1 year. I'll help pay for some of it out of pocket. She told me the number and I almost fell out, almost passed out. Delaware State was like, whoa. She said, but after 1 year, you're going to come home unless you can find ways to help alleviate the cost. I said, give me 1 year to figure it out and we'll take it from there. Became a resident assistant my sophomore year, did it my junior year, and was SJA president my senior year, so I didn't have to pay for anything. So after my freshman year, I never paid for housing. I did the cadet job, I worked in the wellness center, and I wrote for the newspaper. So all in all, I had 5 jobs throughout my college career. And at one point I was getting, I think maybe $800 every 2 weeks, which to a college kid, it's like, that's great. Never asked my mom for anything, like never needed money to come home, never needed Walmart money. So we all know going into college can be expensive for those listening, but it doesn't have to be. And what I mean by that is there's money to be made and money to be given to you. You just have to be proactive in seeking it out.
Go ahead.
I worked on campus. The Bulldog Card office is a great place to kind of seek employment opportunities at Bowie State. Because I started at community college, I pretty much worked through my college career, literally all 4 years, balancing class, balancing being an athlete, working on campus. And I absolutely think that working on campus is great. If you can do it, if you can find an opportunity to work, absolutely do it. For me personally, I still have a very close connection with my supervisor at Bowie State. I go back, I help for homecoming. She's actually been one of my real estate clients. So somebody said it earlier, college is all about building relationships and building your resume. So whether it's on campus or off campus, I absolutely endorse, working through college.
And I was just gonna say, and also how Mr. Williams said, the hustle. You got to make sure that you have a grind in any which way. So if you do hair, you cut hair. or you have any type of skill, nails, if you can go get a pack of lunch meat and some sandwich bread and make some sandwiches, so somebody gonna be hungry, so you got to always, just be about your business and always figure out how you can hustle and also how you can eat. So, and college, that grind definitely helps to motivate you through those other moments. Like Marcus said, that heat helps to get you fortified for the other heat that you're gonna get once you graduate. So just always maintain and be about some type of hustle, some type of grind. You all have some type of skill, and just figure out how can you best use that in order to continue to make money, to make those connections, in every which way possible.
Yeah, I worked off campus for a while, which was really hard. And I would recommend trying to find something on campus as much as possible. One thing I found out later on, which I had done earlier, is like people can work in their labs. If you're in STEM, then definitely ask your professors if they're hiring, if they need help in their labs or anything like that, because they will hire you. They have money to do that, and they will pay you to do the work. And so that's also something that you can add to your resume, make money off of, and basically say you have experience in. So yeah.
In college, I had a work study job. Well, a few work study jobs. I did. I have to think. Admissions for a little bit, and then I changed over to resident life, and I did a desk attendant position because the hours were later, so it worked better with my schedule.
Now, what should
Tutoring as
parents?
well. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying, also tutoring. If you got a niche on something, tutor, that'll definitely be a quick come up, and with something that's little work that you have to do on the back end. Class you just left, somebody needs some help with it. You can definitely help motivate them with those skills from just being that close to the work. So tutoring can definitely be a come up.
I have a question that the answer is for parents. What should they do to support their freshman student? Because a lot of freshmen come in and it's like, yay, freedom. I can do what I want. They don't go to class. They're not handing in assignments on time. What can parents do to help their freshmen navigate that first year and stay on task? So hopefully they can graduate in 4 years. I know some schools have Parents' Day where parents can come back. How involved should parents be? What can they do to help?
Well, I would say, for one thing, parents unfortunately cannot have access to the grades for students. Sorry, I'm giving out free information here. Something called FERPA. So the students have to sign to give permission to the parents to have access to their grades. So however you're going to get permission for that, they're going to have to obtain that information or permission from their child to look at their grades and monitor them. They're also going to have to help them obtain their course catalog just to make sure they're on track. So even it's just kind of, hey, what classes are you registering for next semester or this semester, just to kind of help them keep on track. My advisor was pretty good in helping me navigate, but sometimes all advisors are not good because, they have a heavy workload, and they may not be as in tune with the student and meeting their needs. But if the parent can be more helpful to the child or student, it would be great.
I would just honestly say, just being there. Sometimes we're kids, right? I say we, but they're kids. They're 16, 17, 18-year-olds. They're still technically kids. They've not experienced life as adults have. So sometimes if I just need to pick up the phone and call and just need someone to listen to me. I don't want you to lecture me. I do not want you to say, oh, I would have done it this way. But I just need someone to just listen to me. So I grew up, I'm Nigerian. And for those who are Nigerian, you already know your parents are not the most lovey-dovey, Pick up the phone and let's, talk about your feelings and stuff. But it was always good that, if I could pick up the phone, and they'll just listen, not even necessarily comment, not even necessarily chastise or say I would have done it this way, but just genuinely listen. That goes a long way. Just listening.
I want to say I deal with a lot of parents, a lot of students, a lot of parents. And as it was stated, we, as administrators at the university, are not obligated to divulge information about what's going on with your student or with the student to the parent. We are not obligated to. I get a lot of parents who say, "Oh, but I'm the one paying the bill. Why can't you tell me how much they?" Unless the student gives us permission to, we are not obligated to share that information. So, my advice for parents is to communicate with your student, and for students to communicate with your parents. A lot of times, the parents will hold their child's hand throughout their entire college career, and the student will have no clue what's going on because mom or dad is doing everything. So parents, need to understand that yes, this is your child, this is your baby, but they are now a young adult, and they have to start learning how to handle important business because this is important.
Yeah, I think it depends on the relationship you have with your parents. So in my instance, I probably could go a couple of weeks without talking to my dad just because that's how it was growing up. But my mom, we would probably check in, every once in a while, whether it be through a group chat with the family or maybe a FaceTime. If you have the type of relationship with your parents where you guys want to coordinate visits, whether you go back home or they come to visit you, that's also good. I'm 29. I don't have any children, and I don't have obviously any children in college. So the same way it's an adjustment for parents letting go, or excuse me, it's the same way it's an adjustment for kids going through college and trying to figure out, okay, how do I make sense of all this? It's an adjustment for a parent having a child away from you, and it's like, yo, my kid's in college. How do I cope with this? So I think it's also incumbent on students to call back home and say, hey, how are you doing? Are you okay, mom? Like, is everything good on the home front with the family? Because a lot of times when you're in college, you live in a cocoon or a bubble where you only care about what's going on that campus. If it ain't happening on that campus or in close proximity to it, you either are not paying attention to it or you're not as intentional about it. So it's got to be a two-way street. There's got to be some balance. It's okay to, love people, but I think Miss Haney said it, the hand holding has to be to a minimum. Like, there's no reason if, you're having an issue with a professor or a roommate where your parents should be coming up there and either confronting said professor or said roommate. It's like conflict resolution is a big part of life, not just at the collegiate level. So got to have some balance. Parents got to be in lockstep with with children, and children got to be in lockstep with their parents.
I'll just say as a future college student parent, I hear y'all, but if my babies don't call me, I'm gonna be in them bushes. So call your parents so that so that your parents ain't like me trying to figure out if my camping gear is up to date, because I'm not leaving that side unless I know you're good. So I feel like just the more comfortable you are, and also the more comforting you can show your parent that you're taking those messages and lessons that they've sold into you out there on your own, being able to hold your own and not go out and become a follower. Will maybe leave them from the bushes to the parking lot. Maybe I'm speaking for myself. I get it. I'm not I'm not attacking no professors on behalf, but I ain't saying I'm not down the hallway, rooting them on like, you better go back. You better go back. So you handle your business, and be that adult that you want to be, that your parents have put these ideals and different strategies that you've learned in place, and be able to speak to it, so that parents like me ain't getting in trouble for being up on campus asking about your grades, and share your grades with your parents.
All right, here's the time where we're wrapping up here. Everybody, I want everybody to just do their last pitch for their university. I mean, we all love our university, but this is your chance to do your last pitch. And we'll just go round robin. You want to start off, Roseanne, since you're the first person that's listed here?
Sure. And considering Lake University was the first HBCU, I know Ty's going to give me, where's she at? She's frozen. So it's fine. I know Ty's going to try to come for me. But Lake University is a wonderful and amazing HBCU. We are the first HBCU. I had an amazing time at Lake University. I treasure it till this day. You will have an amazing time. The most important thing about HBCUs is a nurturing environment. The professors generally care about you, and it's the most time, again, as I mentioned before, the time that you will be your true authentic self. And Link University is amazing. Hopefully you can attend. I'll see you at homecoming.
Sean?
University of Maryland Eastern Shore, great school. I will say I'll tell you the reason why I chose it. Actually, the reason why I chose it is because I have a terrible attention span, and I needed to go to a school that was secluded in the middle of nowhere so I could focus. So I'm speaking to individuals that know themselves and they're going to be real with themselves. If you're also an individual that needs to be in the middle of nowhere so you could focus on your schoolwork, strongly recommend University of Maryland Eastern Shore. I could have gone to Howard, I could have gone to University of Maryland College Park, but that was too close to home for me. I would have failed, and we would not be having this conversation. So, again, strongly recommend it for individuals that know themselves. Also, we do not have a football team, so our homecoming is in the spring. Therefore, you can go to everybody else's homecoming. And we actually had a chain going down the line. We started with Norfolk State. Then we went to Virginia Union. Then we went to Hampton. Then we did Morgan. Then we finished at Georgia Avenue. Miss Peter King, you already know it. That strip, that Georgia Avenue strip homecoming, you can't beat it. And then everybody came to your homecoming during the springtime. So again, if you know yourself, you need somewhere to just focus. You want to go to everybody's homecoming and everybody comes to your homecoming. And you just want to be around good folks, University of Maryland, Eastern Shore.
Mason?
Yeah, so as you said, Sean, we got our homecoming in the spring as well. So actually, I was able to hit Coppin's homecoming, and then lots of my brothers ended up going down there to the Eastern Shore to turn up with y'all as well. So that's definitely a big plus. Come to Coppin, it's a wonderful Baltimore feel. You definitely, if you're from Baltimore, you definitely gonna feel like you're at home. If you're not from Baltimore, but you want to be, or you want to see what that's like. It's a lovely, beautiful Baltimore film. Yeah, you're not far from the harbor or Towson or Mondawmin. Like I said, it's a stone's throw. And you still go party on the east side at Morgan if you're feeling froggy. It's right there. All types of transportation to get around. But Coppin is not just right there where it is. It's an awesome place just to be on campus with the plots, get on the grill and turn up. You have your own party sometimes. Come party with the grooves. We on the plot. We get the grills lit up and have fun with that. Every school don't have that plot life, that campus life where you can put the grills out there. So that's definitely love. Being able to experience that amazing gym. Definitely get your recreation dollars. You're gonna pay for it, you might as well get it. Like Marcus has said earlier, gotta get in there, go to the games, and just be a part of the community as well as being a part of the school. It's tight knit. It started as a teacher college, so anything with education is definitely A1. And then also the nursing program is beautifully blossoming. So Coppin.
Irina?
So I would say Morgan State is probably the best HBCU. It's a one-stop shop for a lot of people. No, but I say that Morgan State provided me like with a family feel. I was out of state student, so coming to Morgan State was a bit far for me, but I was able to get all my services or like any support that I needed, even with like school and stuff, and just like sitting down and having that one-on-one time with teachers was definitely helpful, and I was able to have that experience at Morgan. I didn't have like I was able to. I wanted to go to a place where I wasn't in a lecture hall with like 50 other students and like it was more personable. And I definitely got that at Morgan State. I wanted to be in a class where a teacher could actually know my name. They know like my strengths and know like to be able to give advice and help me move forward. And I was able to get that at Morgan State. And I feel we have a really good education program, a really good engineering program, architect program. I know that ROTC is really big at Morgan State University as well. We have a good nursing program. So it just depends on where you're trying to go or how close you want to be to home, how far you want to go. But yeah, I think Morgan State would be a great pick for anyone.
Juanetta, did you want to add to that or?
Yes. Absolutely. So first, please make sure you complete your FAFSA. If you have not, you still can. Make sure you do that so you can see what federal money you are eligible for. Second, if you are interested in Morgan, Friday, April 22nd is Explore Morgan Day, where will be in person. It will be in person. So if you want to come to the campus, you can, you'll hear about all the different programs that Morgan has to offer, student life, all of that will be going on that day. You can go to Morgan's website, www.morgan.edu, and you can register to attend this awesome in-person event.
Thank you, Adria.
Howard's a great school. Howard is so much love. And I would encourage everybody to come. You know, it's in the nation's capital. There's always something going on. It's a lot of people. But I think the good thing, too, is that if you don't make it for undergrad, you could always make it for grad school. There's PhD programs. There's med school, dentistry school. The Howard Hospital is right there. So a lot of pre-med students like to go in and try to shadow some doctors over there or nursing school or whatever. But Howard's an excellent school. The engineering program is really good. And there's just a lot going on and there's always so much to do. But in general, honestly, just choose an HBCU because you really get to kind of develop yourself as a person and you can kind of just live that self. And I think that would be a great choice, whatever HBCU you choose. But of course, Howard. So, yeah.
Taya? Marcus.
Yeah, I'll go. So Delaware, as you all know, or if you don't, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Pick.
You there?
Yeah, I'm here. I just heard her talking, so I didn't know whether to stop or not. You want me to go?
Yeah, go ahead. I think she froze again.
Okay, I got you. So yeah, Delaware is a small state. It's the first state. And to be honest, me being from New York, the only time people from up north go to Delaware is when they're driving through it, like on their way down south. So part of the allure or attraction of Delaware is that it houses Delaware State University. So like Adria said, we all want you to consider an HBCU, whether it's our individual ones. Obviously, I think Del State is a great school. The campus is gorgeous. By the way, across the street from the school, they have some of the best Chipotle you'll find, not just in the state of Delaware, but on the entire East Coast. I'm not kidding. If you're ever in Delaware, you got to go to the Chipotle on North DuPont Highway. It is amazing. At least it was when I went there. But like everyone else on the panel said, the good thing about an HBCU is that you don't feel like you're just a number. No matter how big the HBCU might be, you don't feel like I'm just one out of 60,000 students and I don't really have a personal connection or relationship with my dean or with my professor or with the person in the registrar's office. And while I'm on the topic of the registrar's office, really quickly, you need at least one person in these key departments on campus. Registrar's office, financial aid, student activities, president's office. You need someone that you can call, not just in times of crisis, but just to call and say, hey, what's up? I saw that there's an opening in your office. Can you tell me some information about it? And also in times of crisis, like, hey, they're about to snatch up my financial aid. I need an extra $1,000 to come back next semester. Can you help point me in the right direction? Obviously, legally, of course. But yeah, you need at least one person in each of those offices that's going to either help look out for you or steer you in the right direction of where you need to be so that you can continue on your college career and graduate 4 years or less. That's the motto. The goal is to graduate, but we do them 4 years or less, okay? No super seniors.
Brooke?
So Bowie State, first HBCU in Maryland. Typically a lot of the times people don't consider Bowie State just because, they're already in Maryland. It's right down the street from home. But Bowie State, like everybody else has said, you can be yourself. You're going to learn so much, about yourself, about your community, about just everything in life, honestly. Nursing program is developing business and entrepreneur business and program at Bowie State University. They've done some beautiful renovations there as well. But like several other panelists have said, no matter if you choose our individual HBCU, just choosing an HBCU, you can't go wrong. Back to you, Christine.
Taya, are you able to connect? Well, I want to thank all the panelists for taking the time to participate tonight. We really appreciate it. And I want to invite everyone that is watching to our next forum, which is entitled Career Readiness. I don't want to go to college, giving high school seniors valuable information about successful careers without a college degree. And that will take place on Wednesday, May 25th at 7 p.m. Now, before we close out, we are giving away a Chromebook to one lucky high school student who could answer this question first. You want to go ahead and put your answer in the chat. And if you answer correctly and you hear me call your name, or we will contact you, or you can email us at our chapter email account. Now, the question is, the first female coach of a men's professional team attended which HBCU? Put that in the chat. We will review the chat and get our winner. If you have that answer, you can put that in and email us. And I want to wish everybody a good evening, and we will see you hopefully in May. Good evening.